Hi friends, before we start this episode, I just wanted to let you know that here in From Someone Who Gets It, we have raw, vulnerable conversations, and sometimes those conversations can trigger others. I want to let you know that in this season, we touch on suicide, infertility, PTSD, and everything in between. So if those are some subjects that are triggering to you, I just want to let you know that you're heard and you're seen and you're not alone. This podcast is for you, and I hope you join us. Hi everyone, welcome to From Someone Who Gets It, a podcast about life, mental health, and everything in between. I'm your host, Marcela and this season I'll be sitting down with some of my favorite people having raw, vulnerable conversations about goals, dreams, life, and mental health. Every Monday you can find our episodes on the Cultura Talks channel, and I hope you join in. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of From Someone Who Gets It. I'm your host, Marcela Pawaga. I'm so excited because today I am sitting down with a very, very great friend of mine. She is a mother, a wife, an amazing friend and daughter, Janessa Ramos. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited.
This is my first podcast.
I know. I'm popping your podcast cherry.
You are.
How does that feel?
It feels good.
And it's like, we talk shit all the time. So it's just like natural.
I know, yeah.
It's like girl talk. I'm like, Roby was jealous when he walked in here and he's like, I didn't get fucking blankets. I'm like, okay.
It's only for me.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're not pregnant and beautiful and you don't need a blanket. Okay, so I want everyone to know who you are.
Okay.
I know you as one of my amazing friends. You're Roby's wife. He's lucky enough to have you as his wife.
I think so too.
Who is Janessa? Let's talk about that a little bit. And then we'll just like start talking shit. But I want to know.
That's a big question. Okay, so I'm a wife. I am a daughter. I'm a mother. And yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain myself.
You're
honestly.
a Pisces?
I'm a Pisces.
Okay, so because I feel like that's how we connected right away was like Pisces. If anybody knows me, and you'll learn throughout the podcast, like one of the first couple questions that I ask people is, so what sign are you? And it depends on like if I'm...
Well, we were just talking about that, right?
We were. I was like, you know what Roby's big three are?
Yeah.
And I asked depending on like the vibe. Like if I'm super vibing with you, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What sign are you?
I think I do that too though, because you want to know like where this person's at.
And if I'm not vibing, I'm like,
Yeah. I rather not know actually.
I'm like, I'm not gonna say any like slander to the signs. I was just gonna say a sign slander and I didn't.
Oh no, stop.
But we became friends through Roby.
Yeah, I think it was Amparo, right?
Yeah, Amparo. Yeah. You were following me and you sent me a message like through DM.
Did I? I don't even remember this.
It was like New York.
Okay.
And first of all, Roby didn't talk to me the first two Amparos. Okay. So like I had no idea about his life.
Yeah, of course. Which sounds like him.
Sounds like him to himself, not really talking to anyone.
Yeah.
And you DM me and you're like, oh my God, have a great time in New York. And I'm like, wait, who is this? And then I put it together. And then we hit it off like right away through DMs.
It was like instant, yeah.
And then once we met in person, we're like, oh, we're the same person.
Literally the same.
Like the same.
It was very weird actually when we met each other because even my mom was like, because she was working with you at the time, right? On Amparo. And my mom was like, she's just like you, Janessa. And I was like, because you know, it's always I don't know. But then when I met you, I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah, you actually are.
And then I worked a little bit with your brother.
Yeah.
And I handled something and he like texts me. He's like, damn, dude. Like, I didn't really believe it when they said you were like Janessa. And the way you just handled that.
He texted me the same thing almost. And I was like, okay, shut up. Shut up.
I'm like, sorry, dude. Like, we say it how it is.
I know.
We only sugarcoat it if we know like that you need it.
Yeah.
Other than that.
No. I'm pretty... And I've always been like that. I feel like I can't really like how do you say like become another person, like in front of somebody, like pretend that I like you. I can't do that. I can't do it. It's very hard for me. And I think that's a good trait to have, you know, like vice versa for anybody that doesn't like me either. Like I don't want somebody to be sitting down and pretending that they like me, you know? But yeah, no, that's just how I am.
Yeah.
That's just how I am.
Eddie will tell me every now and then, he'll be like, your face.
I know, but I can't help it.
And I'm like, dude, what do you want me to do? It's my face. Like, I can't do anything about it.
I might not say something, you know? I might like stay quiet about it because I also don't want to be rude.
Right.
But you'll know that I'm not having a good time or I don't really approve or something, you know? Like, I'm not gonna.
It's funny because what's been happening lately, and you know, I'm a little bit of like a witch. For those who don't know, I'm a little bit of a bruja. I just like have this like intuition, call it like a Pisces thing, but I just like, if I really think about it and want to send a message to someone, they'll hear it loud and clear. So I don't know how, but Eddie and I do that. I'll think something, and if I really think it hard enough, he'll know what I'm thinking. So the other night we were at the bar. And this whole group of like, I'm guessing like industry people come in, and it's like super late. It's like 2:00 in the morning. And this one person in the group was a lot more friendlier than
you would want.
Than I would want, than anyone would want, you know, at 2:00 in the morning. And so they were very, very friendly. And he wasn't even looking at me. He was like, turned around. I don't know if he felt like my eyes dagger to his back. I don't know what it was, but he turned this person around and was like, my fiance right there. So ladies, if your man is not stopping
for sure,
a friendly interaction like that right before.
No. And I think that's they learn that with age too. And you also learn how to do it too with age. Because the younger you are, it's not because of anything. You just like instantly get jealous for really no reason, because you don't even know what that intention, like that person's intention is. And you start behaving, you know, a certain way. And then it just the whole night.
Yeah. And I think now that we've gotten to the topic of jealousy, because I think that's such a great topic.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like jealousy for me comes and goes. And I think it depends how comfortable I am with myself at the moment.
Oh, for sure.
If I am so confident
100%.
and I'm like having a like, oh my God, I'm like Jennifer Lopez tonight type of vibe, anyone can walk in that room and like look at Eddie and I'm just like, try.
And it's like, it's how you feel physically, but also mentally and everything, and like where you are. Because I mean, I totally get that. I feel you 100%. And most of the time that I'm at my most jealous is obviously when I'm pregnant. Because I'm like, you know, I feel a certain way. I feel like I look a certain way. And then it's like, you know, you're in a vulnerable state too. Pregnant and postpartum. And it's tough because, especially if, like, for instance, like Roby, like, you know, he's going places, like he's here or wherever, and, you know, you put things in your mind and you're like, oh, you know.
It just happens.
It just happens. And so, like, it's like you got to kind of take a step back and be like, wait, hold on. This is not reality, you know? This is just my feelings. And it's okay to feel like that.
No, and I think people think it's a bad thing. And it's like, no. Okay, what's a bad thing is sitting here lying and saying that you don't get jealous ever. And it's not something that it's okay.
Yeah.
You just, you know, have to understand where is it really coming from?
Yeah,
and I think the older I've gone and I realized, oh, this has nothing to do with you and everything to do with me.
Most of the time it has to do with you, you know? Like, unless, like, I mean, it's a specific situation, but most of the time it has to do with you, you know? Not anything you're doing, but something that you're feeling, you know? And it's tough because it's tough to be like, okay, hold on, I'm the one that's wrong. At least for me, it's very tough to be like, fuck.
That's something. Okay, so I saw this new thing on TikTok, and I told Eddie, I was like, this is how we're gonna handle every fight from now on, because I don't know what it is, but when I'm wrong, it takes me a second to be like, I'm sorry. Like, honestly, I have to even text it because like I physically, and I don't know what it is, and I'm not like happy about it. Like it's something that I'm like trying to work on.
No, yeah.
But I become super nonverbal, and I need to like text you everything. But there's this new thing that it's like you say at the same time, and you say, I'm right, you're wrong, and that's okay. And then you hug and you count 1, 2, 3. Do we need to talk it out?
Okay.
Tell me who's gonna get in a fight. Like, what are you gonna do after that?
And you say it at the same time?
At the same time.
Oh, yeah. Because that way you don't feel
no,
like
and then Eddie goes, right, Eddie goes, well, what if you say it a little louder than me? I'm like, oh my God. And there
I whisper that shit. Like, no, I don't know. It's tough for me, man. Like it'll take me, if not a full day, a couple days. Like if it's a big thing, you know? And it's just like, I don't know. I've always been like that. Like it's just tough for me to say sorry. And it depends on how big the fight has been. Like if it's like something that I'm like, oh shit, I really fucked up, then I'll be like, okay, I'm sorry. And it is what it is. I eat, whatever it is at the moment. But if it's something small, I don't know why, I'm like, nah, it's not even worth it. Like, fuck it.
But even if it's something like that, I'm like, oh, okay. So for example, when I am like, my anxiety is like super, super high, it's not that I'm mean. It's just like anything like sets me off just because my anxiety is at a point that I can't control it. So anything sets me off.
Yeah.
And sometimes those sets, like when I set off and I'll like have an outburst or whatever, after the math, like not to quote Taylor Swift, but she has this song called Afterglow, and it talks about that. It talks about like after the fight and after like the showdown that you're like, shit, this was actually had nothing to do with you. It had everything to do with me. And now I have to deal, and I explain this to Eddie all the time of like, you don't understand, like when we do get into arguments, the guilt that I feel after, because I'm like, fuck, it should have not gotten there. Like there was no, like it started off as a stupid thing, and then it got to this place of like, for what? Now I have this like even more anxiety because I don't want to be arguing
now
with
you. Have that guilt inside.
Right. And now I have this like guilt. How do you deal with that? Plus also deal with like postpartum. Yeah. Like because postpartum anxiety and postpartum rage, and then having to, how do you like?
So I've never really dealt with anxiety in itself, like normal day to day, like little things. Yes. I have dealt with depression, which are, that they're two different things. And that's a whole like other story that we could talk about. But I have dealt with depression, not so much anxiety. So when I got pregnant, it wasn't really a worry for me. I knew that it could happen, because you don't have to necessarily have it in order to get it when you're postpartum. So I didn't really think about it much. When I was pregnant with Vienna, especially, I was like, oh, it's not that I was naive or anything. I didn't think it would happen to me, whatever. And I think that's always the case, right? Like you're like, it's not going to happen to me. I'm fine. I've never had this, or I've never dealt with this. And sure enough, postpartum depression didn't happen. Like the baby blues, whatever. But the anxiety did. And I remember it was like 3-4 days in. And I was like, what's going on with me? What is going on with me? And I remember I was taking a shower, and I literally had to jump out of the shower because I was like, well, my mom's going to throw her over the balcony. And I was like, what is wrong with
your brain goes to a place.
And you know what's crazy is that I jumped out of the shower. I went to where my mom was, and I was like, okay, everything's fine. She's like, what do you mean everything's fine? You've been in there for like 2 minutes. And I was like, I felt like you were going to throw her off of the balcony. And she was like, okay. And then sure enough, like everybody around you like starts hopefully noticing like what's going on. And if you have a good grasp on it, which is tough, but if you have a good grasp on it, then you could kind of like stop yourself. It is very hard though. And I'm sure that's how anxiety is in itself. It's like
these thoughts that you're just like,
wait a second.
What is going on?
How did you even get there?
Yeah.
It's
It's
crazy.
like, how did I even think of that?
Like,
you
why
know? Like,
is
why is that
but
even a thing?
That's what's so crazy, especially about the postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression. I think it's like a lot of people don't talk about it. A lot of people don't talk about that. You spend practically almost 10 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Your body goes through this huge experience.
A crazy experience.
And then your hormones are all over the place.
So when you give birth, like you literally, all the hormones that you had when you were pregnant, you give birth and that just completely drops in like within hours.
Yeah.
So of course, like your body, your mental, everything is going to be completely fucked up.
Yeah.
You know, and like all over the place. And then you're expected to take care of a child and be, you know, more or less like happy, which I mean, at least in my case, I know that this is not everybody's case because everybody reacts to pregnancy and postpartum differently. But every time, thank God, it's been freaking great. You know, I've been super happy and like just super blessed with like a lot of help. And so my experience hasn't been bad per se, but you still feel a certain way. You know, it's very overwhelming.
Very.
Especially the first time, I will tell you, like my first postpartum experience, it was overwhelming. But I don't know, it's just you and the baby, you know? So like you are really able to like enjoy it if you can. The second time around for me was like super hard because not only do I have Vienna at this point that I have to worry about, but now I have Lola.
And how old was Vienna when Lola was born?
She was very young. She was like 19 months or so. So younger than what Lola is now. So she turns 2 in February. Lola was born in October. So yeah, she was very young.
Oh my
Yeah, she was young. We didn't plan any of
Right,
this.
right.
Not even the third pregnancy we planned. It just ended up that we had them back to back. And I know like after this phase of life, it's gonna feel empty and because right now it feels so chaotic.
Yeah.
Because I always say, oh, we didn't plan for it or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like having them back to back is
no, it's great.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like right now it's crazy, but
the chaos doesn't last forever.
Yeah, I know. That's why and I see that now with my niece. She just went to college and it's like, oh my God, they eventually leave.
They leave.
You know? But yeah, so that's why it's like you go through all of this, so you go through all of the anxiety, the depression, the postpartum and but then after it's like, I don't know, and then it all leaves, you know?
Yeah.
And then you figure out a way to deal with other things, honestly.
You figure it out, and it's just like when you really think about it, and you think, what, maternity leave is what, 6 weeks?
I don't know, honestly. Thank God I haven't been. But yeah, something like that, right?
And it's just like, oh, so we're in, especially if you have a C-section, like,
which
is like a conversation that it's like, I didn't know that people judge. First of all, that people judge C-sections, and to me, it's like so moronic.
Like everybody judges everything.
Everything.
You know?
The mom shaming that happens
breastfeeding, like,
oh my gosh,
whether you co-sleep or don't co-sleep, like it's so annoying.
Everything. These like mommy shamers are
they're
crazy.
Intense,
and then like what's crazy is like mommy shamers are mommies.
Yes. Which I don't understand.
No, I don't get that.
Listen, everybody judges in some aspects, you know?
But like in your house by yourself with your girlfriends.
And like whatever, to a certain extent. But I would never, and I think that's like the, you know, there's great things about social media, and then that's one of the downfalls to freaking social media. It's like people are real like confident in back of that phone. Yeah. You know? And like they would never say that to your face. Ever. Or say something to that extent. You know, whether it be judge about breastfeeding or judge you about whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
And yes, it's easy to be like, oh, I would never do that when you don't know that person's situation. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. You sleep with your kid because you sleep with your kid. Whatever. I never thought we sleep with Vienna because Vienna is Vienna.
Right.
You know?
And she's like, I don't care.
And that wasn't my plan.
Right.
Now Lola sleeps on her own, you know? And like, you just have to like, it depends on your situation, on how you're feeling, on how your spouse is feeling, on how your child is.
On your mental health.
On your mental health. What is good for you that day.
Right.
You know, because like there's certain things that I do most days, you know, that make me feel good. But then there's certain things that I do with them that I'm like, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have done that, you know?
Right.
Or whatever. Like, you know, every day is different. And like, you can't judge a mom or whoever on that day that you see them or that day, you know, like it's.
What are some things that you said, I am never gonna do that?
Sleep with co-sleep. Let them watch TV for a certain amount of time. And I think for me, it was mostly like, what am I gonna do instead of what I'm not gonna let them do?
I love that.
So like, oh, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. Like I'm gonna sit down with them and do all these projects and all this bullshit. And it's like, okay, it's a nice idea.
Right.
But when you get there, you don't really like, you're like, okay, I don't have the time, you know, or like I don't have the patience, or like they're not ready for it. Like you don't realize those things in your head before, you know. But again, like I don't know, before you get pregnant, you could have, you know, a list of things. Most of them might not happen. Some of them do happen, right? You know, and good for you. That's freaking great. But that's one of the things that I've realized as a mom is like, I've always been pretty chill, but especially the third time around, the patience and like the just like, whatever, fuck it. It is what it is. You know, you have to at some point. Right. Because you can't just want everything a certain way. It's not realistic. It's and you could try, but it's not like we've been talking about, like mental health, you know, like I have realized that it causes me too much stress, you know, stressing over really minor things. That it's not worth it, you know?
On Tuesday, last Tuesday, you saw that it was my cousin's 21st birthday. Yes. And talking about like things that are just like not like worth it. I went that morning to Dead Flamingo and I like set up the whole thing. Whatever. It took me like, I don't know how many hours. We go have dinner with her and all her friends at Delilah's. And when we go back, because we're having the after party at Dead Flamingo, I told the girls, hold on, I'm going to get off the car first. Okay. I get off the car, I open the door, and my entire setup is moved.
Oh, God. What a bummer.
The entire thing. I have 16 girls waiting to come in.
My God.
All I can tell you is that I saw
the heat coming from you.
Literally.
Yeah,
no,
for sure.
I saw red.
Of
like
course.
I was pissed because I was like, first of all, I started thinking all these things. What if the huge backdrop? What if they would have broken because you moved? Like all these things that. Okay, I know that it didn't happen, but my mind doesn't register that it hasn't happened yet. Like my mind is like, oh my God, and what if this and what if that?
Fight or flight,
Yo,
right?
I started moving shit and oh my God, poor Eddie's like, but just tell me. And I'm like, I don't understand.
Oh my God.
Well, all the guys, I felt so... At the end, I felt bad.
You're like, oh.
No, I was like, oh, maybe it wasn't that bad. Do you see the post I did with the little bird? That's I actually realized that everything was fine. Yeah. So all the guys are looking at me like, oh, shit. Like no one could look at me in the eye. Like everybody was terrified.
Yeah, but you just get in like a zone.
But I got into the zone and I wanted everything to be perfect for Celeste and I wanted her... And to not even realize that she walked in, she looked at everything and like, and it wasn't even about the placement. It was about being there. But it took me a second to be like, okay, Marcela, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Your OCD, like calm down with your OCD and making sure that everything is the way that you left it. That's freaking life.
That is life.
And then I'm like, if that was with kids.
No, yeah. Yeah, that is life, and you go through that shit, like, obviously before kids, like, just, you know, life circumstances, but with kids, you know, I mean, again, if you're a certain personality, and like we were saying, you know, we're similar, I like things a certain way too, you know, and it day to day, sometimes it gets me, like, crazy when they don't go as planned, and that's what I'm saying, like, third time around, I've had to learn, like, dude, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. Like, they're not going to have their hair done all the time. Like, they're not going to, you know, and I know it sounds really stupid.
Oh my, no, it's funny. No, it's doesn't sound stupid because you think about it before. And then when you're in the moment, you're like, you want to go out looking like that?
Yeah. I've already got, like, this summer has really taught me that because, number one, I'm pregnant with 2 toddlers. Yeah. You know, like, I physically can't at this point of my pregnancy anymore. And, like, I just don't have the energy. And I think it's made me grow as a person too, though, you know? Like, I think you just have to take a step back sometimes and be like, all right. And with that said, the other day I was at the sonogram, getting an ultrasound, and the lady was like, oh, I'm pregnant too, and I have a toddler, whatever, and she's like, I'm stressing because she's not going to sleep, and, you know, she's regressing, whatever, right? Gosh. And I thought to myself, I was like, and I told her, I was like, look, whatever you're going through now, in 4 months is not going to be the same.
Right.
It could be better or it could be worse, but it's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
So whatever she's going through now, she's not going to go through when you have the kid. Mm-hmm. And I wish that I knew that when I was pregnant with Lola, because I was not in a good, like, state when I was pregnant with Lola. Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure, looking back on it, physically I felt bad, but I couldn't get out of bed a lot. Yeah. And, like, I for sure was depressed. Yeah. And it wasn't because I was depressed because I was pregnant. I know, like, you know, it's very hard to get pregnant. It's not about that. It was just, like, I was stressing about my situation and what it was gonna be and all the things that Vienna was going through at the time, when for what? Right. Because I had Lola. Vienna was fine. Yeah. Vienna was striving in school. Like, everything was okay. Yeah. You know? So I was stressing my almost whole pregnancy, feeling terrible, not really enjoying the time that I had with Vienna. Yeah. That I was always crying about, because I was like, I'm not going to have this time back. Of course, you're not going to have the time back, but enjoy it, you know? We were in Atlanta. Like, we were in such a good position. I couldn't enjoy any of that because I was thinking 4 months, you know, in advance, when you didn't have to. You don't have to, you know? And it's not going to be the same. So I told her, I was like, look, 4 months, 4, 5, 6 months from now, it's not going to be the same. So try not to stress it. I know how hard that is, you know? Whether you're a mom or whatever you're going through. That could be in anything, you know? And your career, anything. Because the reality is that from now to 4 months, 5 months, it's not going to be the same, you know?
Yeah, everything changes.
Everything changes.
Things can change from one night to the next.
100%. Yeah. And, you know, that could be scary too, but it could also be good. And I think that it is hard in the moment, you know? It is hard to be like, hold on, let me sit back and enjoy this time and be, you know, with my family or whatever, but I don't know. We're human beings, you know. I know, and we go through anxiety, and we go through depression, and we go through all of that, and it's tough.
I want to talk about something that connected us when we first became friends, which was PCOS.
Oh yeah.
Hold on, let me drink some.
Yeah, water. I'm gonna drink some too. I've been trying to figure out how to do this.
I know, me too. I'm like, okay, when is the perfect time to drink water? Yeah. PCOS. So for those who don't know, PCOS is polycystic ovary syndrome, and it's different for everyone. Like, I think every case is like different. For example, my case, I'm like high in estrogen. My estrogen levels are super high. And then some people have like little cysts. Other people have follicles.
Yeah, like I didn't even know you could have cysts, or you cannot have cysts. Yeah. And which is weird because it's called PCOS. Yeah. Right?
But sometimes I don't have like one that like lingers. I know that some people have ones that like linger. Yeah. Mine usually happen like during like ovulation or stuff like that. Before you got pregnant, was it something that you worried about? Because again, if you don't know, with PCOS, you could struggle. There's been different cases. There's been cases of people who struggle, and then there's been cases of people who get pregnant right away and it doesn't.
And it doesn't affect them. So a year before we started trying, I went to the gynecologist. I told her all the symptoms that I've always had and had been having. And she did very like little to no testing on me, and was like, well, you have PCOS. And I was like, okay. Nobody had told me that, but all right, cool.
Right.
I mean, we'll deal with it as it comes or whatever, right? So I read into stuff. I started reading into like diets and stuff like that. And nothing was really consistent except for like getting off of bread, like gluten and stuff like that. I feel like that helped me a little bit, but not really. I mean,
a very like inflammatory like diet.
Yeah. So whatever, I just went as is. And since we weren't trying it, I didn't really stress it yet.
Right.
So when we start trying, we get married, we start trying pretty much right away. And you know, like week after week. And it really is like week after week. You don't even wait like month, you know, like because really, your mind is like already there.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm not getting pregnant. Let me track my ovulation. So when I start tracking my ovulation, I realize I don't ovulate the way that I should.
Right.
Which is, you know, a symptom. It could be a symptom of like PCOS or whatever.
You can sometimes not ovulate at all, or sometimes like skip. You just don't know what's happening,
or like ovulate super late,
right?
Or
exactly,
whatever. So I ended up realizing when I get pregnant that I that I ovulate super late.
Wow.
But the whole time I was like, well, I don't ovulate, you know, because like it never came up,
right?
Whatever. So we start trying, and then I start stressing to the point that like it gets him in a funk, you know, because whenever you start stressing to that extent, it's not good for anybody.
And I want to take a second and talk about that, because no one talks to you about the stress that it comes with.
No,
because you're like, oh, trying is fun. Like trying is fun, but you don't realize after you're trying for a little bit and
it doesn't happen.
And then you try again and it doesn't happen. Something I don't know. Eddie and I have been trying for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this happened to you, but something happens to your psyche.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
even if you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to stress it anymore. We're not going to stress it.
Right.
It's already there kind of thing.
This thing, like, I told someone the other day, now when periods come at the house, it's not a fun thing.
Yeah, no, it sucks.
Like, it's not fun. It's just not a fun time.
No, and I'm sure with your anxiety too, like it freaking triggers it.
No, and it triggers this like feeling of like, what the hell's wrong with me?
Yeah.
When it doesn't have to go that way, because there's so many things. Like, again, we grow up listening to our parents saying, don't have sex because you're going to get pregnant. So you think like, yo, if I sneeze, dude, I'm going to get pregnant. Like, I can't even have the guy look at me for too long. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And then when you get older, you learn, oh, that's not how it works.
Is. Actually,
you have
opposite a lot of the times.
Literally 4 days.
Yeah.
You have 4 days to get pregnant, and if it happens, and it doesn't.
No,
and there's so many like
how many eggs you have, like how he's doing too, because like nobody freaking talks about that.
No one talks about that.
Like, yes, you have to be pretty much like set, but so does he.
Yeah,
you know, and like and I'm so grateful for her, Roby's sister, my sister-in-law. She went through a lot trying to get pregnant, and the only reason I had any acknowledgement of like anything pregnancy wise was because of her. So you were saying about like, oh, that it's tough getting pregnant. I knew that it was gonna, like, it could have been tough.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for her, probably not, you know?
Right.
Because I think it's because it's tough to talk about, probably.
Oh my God.
You know, like you talking about it right now, it's tough.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to be saying like, oh, it's hard for me to get pregnant.
Right.
You know? So I think that's why. But I was very grateful and because she always like, you know, like, oh, get checked. She would even tell me like, try to get checked before you guys, like, you know, just in case, which is like such a great, like, especially if you have the means to.
Right.
Get checked and like see how many eggs you have and if he's fine and whatever.
I think the support system
my God,
around you.
Yeah.
And you know what it was is like everyone around my uncles and aunts, if they struggled, I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something that I grew up, like no one talked about like struggling to like get pregnant. So
it was such a taboo thing back then too.
Such a
Like, I mean,
taboo.
so many things were, right? Like, but especially that, like you for sure were not gonna say
no.
Like, you couldn't get pregnant.
And it's even something not like, this is the first time publicly I say that.
Yeah.
You, my close friends. And I think when we talk about friends group and we talk about support during this, I want to say a story because it's my 3 closest friends at the moment are all pregnant. Janessa, my best friend Natalie, and my other best friend Annabelle. The 3 of my closest friends, they're all pregnant. And it's funny because all 3 of you guys did the same exact thing, and I'll share, and I might cry. So
I already feel it.
But so all 3 of you know like that we've been trying and all this stuff, and you were the first one who told me you were pregnant, and you sent me. It's what I want to say is I was the first one to know about V, and one of the first ones to know about Lola.
Yeah.
So you send me a text message, and in your text message you say, you know, I want to tell you something because you're one of my best friends. But I know that you've been struggling and I didn't want to like trigger you or anything. And then my friend Annabelle, same thing. I think like 2 weeks later, she texts me with the news, same thing. Like, I know that you're, you know, dealing with your thing. How are you doing? Then a month later, Natalie, it was already sad circumstances. We were at her father's viewing.
Oh, no.
And then she tells me the news. And literally she tells me the news. And right after it's like, but how are you? Are you okay?
Yeah.
And it made me feel 2 different ways.
I'm sure. Yeah, I know.
It made me feel like, I have such a great group of friends around me who like, they're sharing one of the most beautiful, happiest news is that they can share with me. And their first thought was, are you okay? Like, are you, you know?
100%. Yeah.
So I think that says a lot about like who I have around me.
Oh, yeah.
And my first response after that was like, don't ever, ever, ever feel like some type of way to like share your news with me, because your happy news is my happy news. But
which I'm also so grateful for that too. You know, like that you're that type of person, because it could have gone another way,
right.
You know, and rightfully so, you know, because you're in a situation. And
it's like, it's weird, right? Because we're at the age that everyone that I know has at least one kid coming into their second or going into their first. And so it's hard because you're like, oh, I'm late on this timeline. Yeah. You know, we go back, Robbie and I talked about timelines, but it's like, okay, the timeline on my career, the timeline on getting married, the timeline on buying a house, the timeline on having kids. Like we like suffer with this timeline, but going back to having your group that supports you and your friends and your family that support you during that is I think so important.
Oh yeah.
So first I want to say thank you for that, because it is a weird subject, and I don't talk about it, but I talk about my feelings when I'm like about to like burst and I'm like, someone please listen to me before I like fucking lose it. And there's something so personal about like not being able to like
get
and everyone tells you the same thing. and it's like, it'll happen when it happens, which there's some days you hear it and you're just like, okay.
And I say that, and I think I've told you.
Yeah.
Because it is true.
No, 100%.
You know, thing. But it is, I know, I would hate when people would tell me, and we only really tried for like a year, but like looking back on it, you know, when you're in that year, you're like, oh, this is forever. And you know, everybody's like, it'll happen when it happens. It'll happen when you don't stress about it. And it's like, thank you. I appreciate it.
You know, it's the same thing of like, oh, you're depressed, just go outside, take a walk,
get out of bed.
No, I don't know who it was. Like, it was a big group, and someone in the group, I think it was a man even, like, was like, you know, just do the fun part. It's, you know, having a kid, it's fun. The activities are fun. And I'm like,
haven't thought of that.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like,
my mind never went there.
No, ever, never.
You enlightened something in me. That's like, come on, bro. Yeah, I know. Well, that's another thing too, is like people's commentary about certain things. It really gets me sometimes. When it comes to like pregnancy or kids, I mean, anything in general, right? But pregnancy and kids, like, I have learned, and going back to like the whole judging thing and the moms and whatnot, again, your instinct is to be like, you know? Like if you're at the park or something and you see, I don't know, whatever, some kid having a meltdown or whatever the case may be, you're like, But as a mom, now having 2 children and them for sure having meltdowns, you're like, oh, you don't know. You know, you don't know. You don't know what that kid is going through. You don't know what that mom's going through. You know, the other day I was in the car, and Lola was just being like, just a handful. So sometimes we'll put them in the car in my sister-in-law's area that it's like un reparto, you know? So like nobody's really driving through there. So I put her in the car, and like I literally was driving the block with her, you know, like not in her car seat.
It's okay.
It's okay. And some lady literally following me pulls up next to me and is like, ma'am, you shouldn't be driving with her. And I'm like, I know. Thank you. Thanks, lady. Like, you think I'm fucking driving on the turnpike with this child
like,
on my
I'm
lap?
Gonna go like Fast and the Furious right now.
Literally, I live right there. Like, you know, but the fact that she was like, this is so important to me that I need to go by her, you know, and you don't know what I'm going through at that moment, you know? That's what I'm talking about. That it's like, it's so annoying to me that people feel like they need to say shit. Like, I get circumstances. There's certain things that you're like, okay, I do need to step in or whatever.
Right.
But most things, you could step out of it. Like,
I was at CVS the other day.
Okay.
And I was in line to pay, and there was this little girl. She must have been like 6, 7 years old with her mom. And then this old lady was in front of them. So we're sitting there, and the little girl has a chocolate bar in her hand. And she's standing there, and this old lady turns around, and in Spanish, but I'll say it in English, says to her, oh, you shouldn't be eating that chocolate. You're so beautiful. You're so beautiful. You shouldn't be eating that chocolate. That chocolate is not... Janessa,
I can't.
I don't know what got into me, girl. Well, I do know what got into me. And I looked at the lady and I said to her, well, first I looked at the little girl and I said, it's okay. You can eat the chocolate. The chocolate's not going to do anything to you. You're totally okay. And then I looked at the lady and I said, let's not go around and tell strangers what they can and can't eat and put that in her mind. That is a rule. And I've suffered from an eating disorder for many years. So stuff like that triggers me in a way that I'm just like, we're not doing
this right now. Yeah.
And Eddie and I have that talk a lot because I'm like talking about like saying you're not going to do stuff, but then you have a kid and it's like, whatever. No. There's one rule that I've kind of put already in stone and there are those rules though. Like, that it's close to you and it's personal to you and you do take
with you. Like it's just like a you have to for your own sake, and you do implement.
It's like
those.
the 10 commandments in our house, and one of those is going to be never commenting on the child's physical appearance or commenting on what they're eating or like stuff like that. My whole life, and I know that it was done with good intentions.
Yeah, not coming from a bad place.
And I know it was done because you're trying to take care of the person, like all these things.
Yeah.
But I don't think people understand what that does to a child's brain.
Yeah.
From a young age, all they're hearing is, don't eat this. That's bad. That's not good. Oh my gosh, that has too much sugar. Oh my God, that's so bad for you. That's going to get you fat. That's going to like...
It's also overwhelming.
Super overwhelming. Now you're teaching this child like, oh, there's good food and there's bad food. And it's like everything in moderations.
Yeah.
You know, like everything in good moderations. But we're going to have that rule of like, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And if I experience it, I've told Eddie, I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
I will cut you out.
Yeah,
like there's not even like,
a non-negotiable.
There's not even like a warning, and you might call me a bitch, call me whatever you want. I suffered from an eating disorder for 17 years because of that.
Yeah.
And I refuse to have a child of mine, especially a girl.
Yeah.
Not saying that men don't go through it. Boys go through it. Everybody goes through it.
Yeah.
But absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Yeah. I never went through an eating disorder per se, but you like for sure, like
a body dysmorphia. Yeah, we grew up in the 2000s.
Exactly. Like I mean, I feel like every girl, right? Like at some point, especially in high school, you go through some kind of shit. Like whether it's like an eating disorder, which I know a bunch of people that had an eating disorder, and looking back on it now, and it's just like everything. Like when we were in high school, it was way different. Like we didn't. I mean, we might have had names for things, but like nobody really talked about it. You know?
No one.
And so you knew people that were going through shit, but you didn't really like have a name for it or even talked about it, really.
No.
You were just like, oh, she's fucking weird. She doesn't eat, or whatever the case may be, which is so fucked up.
100%.
You know? And thinking about it now, like one of my close friends for sure had that.
Yeah.
And you don't realize until you're older, and now especially that we have way more information about certain things, you know, and you're like, oh shit, this person was going through it, you know, and didn't even know, honestly.
And isn't that just like what happens?
Yeah.
Though?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That you go through it, and then after you come out of the funk, you're like,
wait, hold on.
holy shit.
Yeah.
That one almost took me out.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Several times.
Oh my God.
Several times. And you're like, oh, okay, I survived that.
I want to know, how does it work when you wake up on some days and they're your hard days?
Yeah, it's tough, man.
Dealing with that. And like, you're a stay-at-home mom, which is a fucking crazy job. And anyone who thinks otherwise, I'm like, go stay home with the kids for a day and let me know.
Again, I think we have like more, I think people acknowledge it more now.
100%.
For sure than before, you know? Like in the, I mean, we could take it back to the 50s, but like in the 90s when we grew up, I mean, a stay-at-home mom was like, you know, nobody really, you were like, oh, yay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm super grateful that I'm a stay-at-home mom. I know that not many people that want to be a stay-at-home mom can be.
Right.
Because that's like a whole conversation itself, like whether you want to be or not.
Right.
And yeah, it's tough some days, man, because you have to get up, even if you don't want to, you know?
Yeah.
Again, something you don't realize before you have kids or before you even get pregnant. Like, you don't even think of that. Like, oh, I'm going to have to get up, like, even if I don't want to or I can't, you know? And again, I have been so blessed with such an amazing husband, but then also, like, everybody around me, my family, his family, my brothers, like just everybody, you know, that is able to like check in on me and like when I need help, I'm like, here you go.
Yeah.
Like, here are the girls, you know. I know that that's not the situation for a lot of people, you know. But it is tough. It is tough. And there are days that I don't feel myself. There are days that I have to just do stuff and I'm dragging, dude. You know, I'm dragging. I'm barely there.
Yeah.
You know? And it's tough, but you know, going back to like, again, whatever I'm going through now, I'm not going to go through, you know, whatever. I wasn't going through this before, and after the girls are a certain age, I'm going to get out of that, you know, and then I'm going to have to go through something else with them.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be this. So that kind of like is what takes me from day to day, you know, and I really am blessed that I don't have those days all the time, you know, but you do, and you just got to like push through, you know. It does make you a stronger person. I will tell you that. Like, as a Pisces, I'm very sensitive, you know, and everybody that knows me knows that that's the case. It has gotten better, you know, and when I say better, like I think sensitive is a good quality 100%. To have, but it can be terrible as well because you can take everything to heart. You can take everything like it's you and it's really not, you know? And with motherhood, at least for me, because of whatever I've gone through, it's helped, you know? It's helped me to be like, okay, this is not a personal thing, you know? Like, I don't have to be so sensitive about it. Like, it's fine. Like, it's probably not even towards me or whatever, you know? And again, it's tough some days. But I think that because of those days that I have to get up and push and whatever, those things have strengthened. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense.
And a lot of things that I used to do or that I used to be, now they've evolved into better qualities, you know?
Yeah.
Which that's a whole other conversation too. Like, you don't realize... Okay, the Janessa before children, right, and the Janessa while having children, like as a mom now. Yeah. They're not two different people, but they're two different people. 100%. You know? Yeah. Like, I have the same qualities or whatever the case may be, but now I have different wants and likes, and it's so crazy because especially now, like now in this time of my life, I'm like, oh fuck, am I still fun? Like, it's so stupid to say, but
have that conversation with myself all the time, and I don't even have kids yet, and I'm like, am I still a good time?
I know. And you know, it's the age, like once you get into your 30s, like there's stuff that changes, you know? But also when you have kids, because it's like the day-to-day of like just being a mom, which I love, but it does take something from you, and it's a little bit sad, you know, because until you're like, wait, hold on, I need a break, and you go out with your friends or you go out with your husband and you're that person again, you're like, oh, okay, I am. I do still have a little bit of that, and you have to keep that, you know, because it's very important, and you can lose that, right? Being a mom and being a wife, like, you know, it's just a day to day, and it's tough, you know, like you're not going out all the time, or you're not figuring out what you like from day to day, or like your interests, you know, and you have to make time for that.
You still have to be a priority to yourself.
Yes, and it's very hard.
No, yeah.
And I think it's harder for certain personalities than others. Like, I think it's easier for certain women because they're good at that. I'm terrible at that. Like, I'm terrible at that. Yeah. I have made it like a thing now that I'm like, no, hold on. Like, I need time. Yeah. And it's okay. And I shouldn't feel like, oh, it's selfish or whatever. Because it's not. It's selfish to let yourself go. It's selfish to not think that you can also like certain things or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But it's very tough. It's very tough. And like sometimes you don't figure that out till
you're deep, like,
yeah, till they left.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what the fuck?
Who am I?
Who am I? Who is he?
Yeah.
Which is a whole other thing.
No, Eddie and I, again, these are all talks and things change once you have kids.
Yeah.
But we talk about, there's this Desi Perkins, you know Desi Perkins, the YouTuber.
If I see her, problem.
She has this thing that she has 2 kids, and ever since she had the kids, every Friday, no matter what,
They have date night.
they have date night. And it's just like, and she explained, people are like, oh, but aren't you like sad to leave the baby when, and she's like, the thing is like one day that baby is going to leave and I'm going to be with my husband. And if I spend all these years forgetting that I also can date my husband, then what happens? Like when the kids leave, who are you?
Yeah.
Like what happens? And also taking time, like you said,
Oh my God,
for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And making sure like, hey, if I'm not okay, the household is not okay.
Yeah, no, and that's for sure a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And with your spouse too, like if they're not okay, the household is not okay. And like it just goes for both of you, really, you know? I feel like because you're the mom, you don't vocalize that. So then you do get left to the side. And it's tough because you don't want to be on that mission of like, hey, by the way, I need a load time, or I need to do my nails, or whatever, you know? Like, I don't know. At least for me, I feel like it's like a burden to everybody.
No,
you know?
and I get that. But I think that we should normalize.
Yes,
like,
we should. 100%.
asking,
Yeah.
hey, I need just 3 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours.
And they're going to be fine.
And it's like what happens is, okay, when you have a kid, everybody is asking, how's the baby? Can I come see the baby? Like, how's the baby? Yeah. And I remember one day just it clicked for me and I was like, no one asked about mom.
No.
No one's asking how's mom. No one's like, mom, how's your like mental health? How are you doing? Do you need a second? Do you like, can I come? Like one of my biggest things, I know I'm going to be such a witch when I have my kid, because it's like, I don't want you to come to my house and like sit down on the couch and hold the baby. Like I can sit down on the, if you're going to come over and meet the baby, yes, meet the baby, say hi to the baby, but like, come help me
out. I know. And like, that really is what goes through your mind. The first time around, I was like, oh, I'm such an asshole, because it would go through my mind. But I really do. Like, I keep on saying it, but I really do. Like, so many people helping me. So I really didn't feel like that. But it does go through your mind. You're also not in a good state. So you're not feeling at your best and you're just like super vulnerable. So the last thing you want is like just a bunch of people there holding the baby, and then you're just freaking there like laying down in a robe. Like, you're like, help me out.
For Eddie's cousin, she had her baby last September. And we like meal prepped for her. Like we give her like, I think like 2 weeks.
That's the best.
Worth of like meals.
That's the best.
And she was like, I didn't realize how much that helped me. And I'm like, because the last thing you need to worry about after you have a kid and you're home with a child and you're trying to figure out your life is, oh shit, what am I going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? And if you're breastfeeding, snacks in between because you're like literally milk. Starving. Yeah. So it's just like, it's a conversation again that we have so much. And thank God. Yeah. This is so important. When you go to pick your husband.
I know.
Remember that you're also picking a father for your children. So, like, remember that's like, and you don't think of that when you're dating and when you're like.
And I think it depends on your age too, right? Because like, for instance, like I'm sure you have friends, or I even have friends that are single now, and that does go through their mind. I'm sure, you know, because you're 30 something and you're like, I either don't want to have kids and you know that, right? Or you want to have kids and you're like, I'm looking for somebody that is willing to be a great father. Yeah. No. So, but at 18, like I was when I met Roby.
You weren't thinking that.
I wasn't really thinking. I mean, I didn't even know, you know, what was what. Right. You know, let alone if this guy was going to be a good husband or father, you know? So it is tough because you pick somebody in the chance that they are. But usually, you know, like,
yeah, I was with someone
depending on how they are with you, you know, like, I mean, if they're an asshole to you, chances are they're not going to be a great father, probably.
I was with someone for 7 years, and I was on this. I don't want kids. 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 And finally, when that ended, I met Eddie, and like my biological clock started like ringing. I was like, oh shit, it's not that I didn't want kids, it's that I didn't want kids with this guy. Yeah. Like that's what it was.
Or he didn't bring that out in you or whatever. Yeah.
And it's so important. So when we have these conversations, he's not one of these like, oh no, well, it doesn't matter who says that. If it's my person, no. He's very like, babe, whatever you say.
That's great. It's also the age, though, too. Yeah. Because I will tell you, Roby's amazing. And I love him. Shout out to Roby. But he's not even out there. But we were so young that even when I did get to the point of like, oh, okay, I could probably have a kid with this guy, he wasn't even in that mindset.
Right.
We are also a specific situation, like a specific relationship because of his acting and where we were in New York and all that stuff. Like, he couldn't even think about having kids, let alone...
It doesn't happen for them until a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because Eddie did not want kids.
No. And I will tell you, and actually my gynecologist, that's a male, reaffirmed this the other day, which is crazy because he's a gynecologist.
Yeah.
But he's like, till like a couple months in of having the baby, you love the baby automatically.
Right.
But you can't really connect with the baby until a couple months in, because imagine you've had that baby in you the entire time. The moment it comes out, for the most of the time, you connect with that baby.
Right.
There are instances that
it does.
You don't, and it takes you a little bit of time, whatever. But for the most part, my situation has been that, like,
Instantly.
I mean, it's been instant. Him, on the other hand, it's like a growing thing. You're not growing a person. Like, they literally, I mean, he lived in another state with Vienna my whole pregnancy. So... Of course not. Yeah. You know, and it's unfair to expect that too. No, you know? Yeah. Now, a couple of months in that they're already like smiling at them and stuff like that, then, you know.
No, and now he is like,
oh my God, obsessed.
Oh my God.
I mean, they're obsessed with him to the point that I'm like, hi.
No, he told me a story.
I gave birth to you.
That V got mad the other day because.
Oh yeah. So, okay, She's exactly like me. No,
it's like exactly like you.
She's exactly like me, and I love it and I hate it, you know?
Yeah, because like, those fights are you're just like, no, that's my response. So
yeah, and you also see like what she might deal with, you know, and you're like, fuck, you're gonna struggle with that.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it sucks, but she might not, because like she's a hybrid of me, and she's like she's way smarter than me. She's just better. You know, she's like a better version of me, and I love it. But so the other day, and this is me in a nutshell. The other day, I will say she was supposed to. This is what I was gonna say. She was supposed to be a Pisces.
Yes, she was.
So she was supposed to be born February 22nd. My birthday is February 25th, and she was born February 15th because it was a C-section. Whatever. I still think she has a little bit of Pisces in her.
No, 100% has some Pisces in her.
Okay, so point of the story is that she woke up and she was like, I'm so mad at Papa. I'm like, why? She's like, because he didn't kiss me good night. And I was like, what do you mean? You were sleeping and he got home and he laid down in bed. Mind you, she sleeps with us. She felt him in bed. Like, it wasn't like, you know, she was by herself or anything. Right. And she's like, yeah, but he needs to kiss me when he gets home. And I was like, girl, I feel you.
I feel you, girl.
I feel you. I feel you.
Go tell him.
Okay, you go tell him. And she threw a shoe at him and was like, you need to kiss me before, I mean, when you get home. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
That's
all the time.
All the time.
All the time. That's what I want to do. And so it's funny, you know, like she's like literally a mini me, and they have a great relationship.
Yeah.
And she's obsessed with him. She's always been obsessed with him.
She has.
Which helped me during my second pregnancy. Lola is like attached to my hip, but also loves him and like is super close to him now. And it took a little bit of time because she's the second, so she was always with me. But she's obsessed with him too. And I'm sure Ruby is gonna be obsessed with him. You know?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm like just out here. I'm like, okay.
We do all the work and then they're obsessed with.
But that is, so the relationship I have with my dad now is great.
Yeah.
We went through like a rocky road, you know, because my parents got divorced or whatever. Yeah. But I've always been like a daddy's girl. Even though when I was little, I was super attached to my mom.
Yeah.
But I just think that's a thing, you know, like if you have a really good dad as a little girl.
That's like, my mom is a single mom, so I didn't grow up with my dad, and my dad was like what they write in books about the, you know, the dads, typical deadbeat dad, like, and so I was lucky that I have great uncles and I had an amazing grandfather. So like, too. Yeah. I saw that. So like every time we had like the daughter daddy dances, like
you had somebody.
I had someone.
Oh,
like
that's awesome.
I always had someone. My uncle Jose used to be the one that used to always go to that stuff because my other uncles were in and out of Miami. But when I got older, that was something that I think like vowed to myself.
Yeah.
Was making sure that I was with a partner that was going to be an amazing partner to me. Yes. But was going to be an amazing father in all the different ways. In the ways of being an understanding father, of being a loving father, showing, you know, if I have a daughter one day, like, hey, this is what it looks like to be treated by, which is so important. So important.
It's so important because the father-son relationship is very important too. Yeah. Because that's eventually gonna be a husband as well, and so important. But it's so, like I'm telling you, it's so important for a father to be a good father to a daughter, like, and to really encourage them to be the best that they can be.
Yep.
You know, and like I already see that with him and the girls. Like he really wants them to be the best that they can be. You know, like without any like, and of course he, you know, he feels a certain way about things, but at the end of the day, he just wants them to be happy, you know? And he leads with that, which is, I mean, that's the only thing that you can ask for.
100%.
That's the only thing you can ask for. And being a mom, you know, you deal with, like right now, they're like daddy's girls and whatever, and eventually they will be again.
Yeah.
There's gonna come a time there that like they go through puberty or whatever, that they might lean more on me,
right?
You know, but because he's so open and because he's like vulnerable in that way, I don't have a doubt in my mind that they're gonna feel
comfortable talking
to him.
Yeah,
thank God.
Which I think it's a millennial thing.
Yeah,
not taking anything away from our parents and that generation.
It's not.
But I think about this all the time. And again, we're going to get some people that are like, oh yeah, you just wait until you have your kid. But it's like, I don't know, dude, like talking to them and understanding like, yo, they have a lot of emotions and emotions are big and we're fucking adults.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine how emotion feels in a 2-year-old?
Yeah.
Or like whatever, like you know what it is? Or in a teenager going through like the stuff that we went through.
Yeah, like look, dude, middle school and high school.
Oh my God.
I'm dreading that.
Oh,
with the girls to begin with, because I mean
I'm just
literally the hardest
school to begin with. Yeah, I hated school.
So
hated school. So
is
like
that a Pisces thing too? Because I hated school.
A Pisces middle. Oh, we're also middle. We're both
middle child. Yeah. So,
yeah. Junior's laughing over there. Junior, are you an only child?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
I knew it. You give me only child vibes, dude. You and Eddie. Eddie's an only child too.
Tranquilito. They're like a tranquilito vibes.
Tranquilito. Yeah, right. They're like, I'm not gonna share anything with you type vibe. Do you? Let me ask you a question. When you're with your girl and you're like sitting down and you go to the bathroom, do you announce that you want to go to the bathroom? Like, do you announce like, oh, I'm going to the bathroom?
Random.
No, it's watch. I'm gonna do a like.
I let them know.
Do you do you get up and like leave, or do you like get up and like, hey babe, I'm going to the bathroom?
I don't know if that's
Hey, babe, I'm going to the bathroom.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I don't know if that's a middle, only child thing or un viejo. Like, yeah, that's like a viejo thing.
No, because Eddie
do.
doesn't announce it.
Oh, he doesn't announce
And
it.
every time I
So I
stand
just
up,
called
I'm
you un
like,
viejo.
I'm going to the bathroom. Hey babe, I'm going to the bathroom. And he looks like, okay.
No, I don't think Roby does that, actually.
Honestly, Robbie doesn't look like someone
No, he doesn't give a shit, actually.
Yeah, he does.
He doesn't give a shit.
Like, you could tell him,
Bro.
babe, I'm going to the bathroom, and be like, good for fucking
literally,
you. Like,
literally. We had actually... He's so... I mean, yeah. When I tell you, like, opposite... I believe in opposites attract because... We are very much opposite. Now we have like similar interests and like we are, whatever. We have things that are common.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because you are in a relationship and you make it work, whatever. But we are so opposite. It's so crazy.
No.
And if you read on signs, going back to signs, Pisces and Leo, like Leos will like devour Pisces.
Yeah.
I mean, if you read it up, right?
Yep.
We all know who wears the pants.
We all know.
No.
Look in that camera and let everybody know.
It's me. It's me. Okay.
Sorry.
I wear the pants.
Ruby. And then after Janessa, it's V, Lola,
It's V,
and Ruby.
Lola, and Ruby. Oh my God. Yeah. I do feel a little bit bad for him.
No,
honestly.
Sometimes I do feel bad for him.
Because 4 women under one roof is
Tough,
yeah,
dude.
it's tough. It's tough. It's a lot of emotions there. And okay, so Vienna's an Aquarius. My mom's an Aquarius, so love you, mom. Vienna's an Aquarius. Lola is what?
A Scorpio.
A Scorpio. Ruby will be like November 4th.
A Scorpio.
Another Scorpio.
And then you have a Pisces and a Leo.
No, I think...
What's Lola's birthday?
I think Lola is a Libra.
What is
October 14th.
Oh, yeah, she is a Libra.
Yeah, so Libra, Scorpio, and then I'm a Pisces. So it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And then he's a Leo.
And he's like... Okay. He is your typical Leo. The thing with him and the reason that he gets away with it is that he's so quiet.
Yes.
He's so quiet.
You nailed it.
He's so in his to himself.
Yeah.
But ego on the motherfucker.
No.
The ego on the motherfucker. No, I'm just kidding. Kidding.
That is his issue. Like, okay, again, opposites. Like, I walk in somewhere and you know more or less like what I'm thinking because of my face. Like, I just can't hide it.
Yep.
But him, very like stoic, almost like he doesn't even want to be there.
Yes.
And he's enjoying the fuck out of it. And I'm like...
Yo, when he went to go see, how did this turn into talking about
know,
Roby?
But I love much.
He went to go see Laughs in Spanish, and like, Roby is a different type of actor. You know what I mean? He's serious. He only does serious shit around here. Serious work. And sometimes there's some shows that are just fucking fun.
Fun, yeah.
Laughs in Spanish was one of those shows that were, it was just a good time. Like, it was a good fucking show. It was a fun time.
Yeah.
There was really good music in it. And it was a show that you just came to laugh and like enjoy that you grew up in Miami.
Yeah.
We weren't doing Hamlet.
Yeah.
This wasn't, we weren't
Streetcar Named
like
Desire.
Streetcar, right. It wasn't anything like that.
Yeah.
Yo, this motherfucker came to see the show because like, I put a warning out that if you didn't come see the show,
and I was like, you have to fucking go see it.
Yeah. No, Janessa would have been like, Janessa tells him like, I don't care. Do it.
No. You have to do this.
This guy, dude, is first of all sitting in the aisle. Okay?
I can't.
His face, Janessa,
I can't.
The whole time was like this.
So embarrassing.
Ready? This camera, look at me. I'm going to do the best acting of my life right now.
That's him.
Yo, I don't even think I saw him crack a fucking smile.
No, probably not.
Once to
Probably
the point that someone came backstage and was like, yo, you saw that guy in the aisle? Like, serious as fuck, dude.
That's what he doesn't understand.
He hadn't gotten up to dance once.
Like, you're a big guy, number one. You have a huge ass beard, a lot of hair. Like, what, you think people don't notice you? Like, you're not hiding.
No.
Like, you gotta smirk.
After I was like, you liked it? He's like,
So
we'll
annoying.
talk. And I was like, you're so annoying, dude. Welcome to the actor's studio. Okay,
for
bye.
real, bro. For real.
No, but he's a great guy and he's an amazing father. Like,
No,
to
he
see
is.
him in that like position.
Yeah.
By the way, Eddie was I want to have a boy. Like every other guy. You know,
yeah.
I want to be a boy dad. I don't know what happened. He saw Robbie be a girl dad and something clicked. And like, I think it was V's like second birthday, and he's like, oh no,
This is what it
I
is.
want a girl.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just some different shit. Like, and he'll say it. Like, he says that it made him grow.
Yeah.
And things that like he didn't even know. And that it's like, yeah, like, because you just have to.
Yeah.
Because now you're dealing with a little girl. You know, you can't treat that little girl how you would treat a little boy. And it's not to say that they don't have feelings or anything. It's just like different shit, you know? Because yes, you have to treat a little boy with empathy and all those things that you would treat a little girl, but it's just different.
It's different.
And especially if you're a male, you gotta like figure how to speak to them and like and compliment them. And
I saw a video of this dad saying that he never raises his voice to his daughter, and it was on a podcast, and the guy's like, well, what if she does something bad? Like, and he's like, I never raise my voice to my daughter because I don't want to teach her that it's okay for a man to raise. But if she grows up hearing me raise my voice to her mom, raise my voice to her, it registers her like, oh, okay, I can get yelled at, and it's fine.
Super important. So what you were saying, like raise your voice to your spouse or whatever, we have one of those rules that we have always had, and going into it, it is hard. Because you just fight about shit all day, you know, sometimes. And you want to fight in front of them because it's like, fuck.
Yeah.
You know? But it's, at least for us, it's like one of those non-negotiables. Like, you can't raise your voice at me in front of them. And it's very hard for me because and
vice versa. Like, you can't do it to me, I can't do it to you.
He's better at it than I am. I haven't raised my voice in front of them, but like, you know, I might say stupid shit. And it is very important because just like you don't want to teach them that he can't raise your voice. You don't want to teach them that you could be like, I don't know, calling him names or whatever in front of them, you know, like diminishing him as a human. So yeah, those are one of the things that like, it's a non-negotiable. It has been hard, but we try to stick as true to it as possible. And
you know, shit happens.
Yeah,
and people,
of course.
But you raise different type of kids.
Oh my God, yeah.
And again, every household is different.
Yeah.
And you can't control the household.
Yeah.
But there's something about a calming nature.
Yeah, that they feel like.
And they feel. And even like, again, another thing, I don't know why, but I'm on like parent TikTok. So I like save all these things. And something else that I've seen of like, even when they're older and they do things that they're not supposed to, because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You can go two different ways. You can go the screaming and no, you're good, or you can go the hey, as long as you're honest with me, and you tell me the truth, you and I can sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah, and it is important to do that. It's so tough.
Because so hard.
Anybody that knows me knows that I scream a lot.
Yeah.
But I also just as much as I scream, I do sit down with her and I'm like, wait, what's going on? what's happening. And it's hard at this age, especially because it's like they're 2 years old or 3 years old or whatever. And
how do you handle meltdowns?
Okay,
so you posted Vienna, a picture of Vienna she posted the cutest picture of Vienna was like this.
Yeah,
like smiling, and your caption was, "You won't believe that she just had a meltdown
yeah,
before this."
So she since she was like 6 months. Vienna is, let me tell you, Vienna the song, Vienna,
one of my favorites. Okay, yeah.
Somehow we picked that name for her, and that song depicts who she is. Like, she wants to be older. She wants to like be doing things before her time. And she's just like, she's a character in itself, man. And hard to parent. Very hard to parent. Because again, you say shit before parenting. You're like, no, I'm going to parent like this and I'm going to parent like that. You don't know what child you're going to get.
Yeah.
And we got Vienna. And Vienna is, like I said, very much like me, but she's like a hybrid of me. Like, ella no tiene pena. Like, I do have pena, and that saves me.
Yeah.
Same. But she does not. So the other day, she goes through phases of like, she's super, super good, like toddlers, Right. And then all of a sudden she'll just be like, day after day, like not sleeping well and like going through tantrums about everything, or like meltdowns. And the other day, I don't even know what her meltdown was, because toddler,
right?
Probably because I didn't give her something or something. And she went through this whole meltdown. I was texting with my brother, because he has my nephew that's like the same age. They're 4 months difference, and they're going through the same thing. And he's like, dude, they legit go from like 0 to 100
in a second
and back, like in a second.
Yeah.
And like they'll melt down right here about nothing, and then all of a sudden be like, hey. So that's exactly what she did. So I don't know what it was. And she had like a full on, to the point that normally I would be like, don't do that. That's not how we behave, or whatever the case may be. And get mad about like, you're overreacting about something. But I was like, oh my God, she has no control over her body, her emotions. Like, she was just in another level. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna let her do what she needs to do. And sure enough, she sits right next to me and she's like, give me your phone and cheese. And I was like, oh, this is crazy right now. What? Like, where am I even living? Like, you just literally were in hell, and then just came to sit down and wanted to smile because you're so happy now, and it's like, it really does put you in like check of like, they don't know what anything is at that point, and because she, you always think that your kid is super smart or whatever, but she like I've said, like, she wants to be older and she acts older.
But her cousins are also older.
Her cousins are older too. Yeah, the ones that are here in Miami that she's with all the time, they're older.
Right.
So, and she's literally been raised with them.
Yeah.
So she really does think that she's older than what she is. And like, if you ask her, she's like, I'm this much. Like, and she hasn't even turned 4 yet.
You're like, you're 3.
Yeah, you're 3, and it's like, if she meets somebody that's like 5, 6 years old, she's like, I'm 6. I'm like, no, mama, you're not yet, So that's gonna be her thing. Like, she wants to be independent, which drives, Mr. crazy, because, and not crazy in a bad, he's just like, oh my God, like, and like, I tell him all the time, it's a great thing.
Yes.
Because eventually, like, that girl is gonna freaking rock, And
you just like, yes, are they hard to raise?
They're
like, they're hard to parent.
Hard raised.
They're hard to parent.
Yeah.
But for especially a girl, that's what you want.
And time to time, I'm reminded by it because I'm like with her every day, so it gets frustrating. They have told this to us in Disney and like in different places that they see her personality, because it's a big personality, and they're like, that's good.
Yeah.
Eventually that's good. And like, several people have told us, and it's a reminder to be like, okay, all right, I'm doing something right.
Yes.
Because, and also it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Because we're raising a strong kid,
I want to, and I know this is going to sound so bad, but like, they're jealous of you, parent. My best friend, her mom was they're jealous of you parent,
Okay.
and my best friend has the most amazing confidence like in the world. Doesn't matter like what season she's in her life, she's always had this confidence because that's how they raised her to be like this super independent, like I'm strong, no one can tell me anything. And that took me a while. Like I got like that now older. No one.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like I think I got like that now.
Yeah. Like now no one messes with me and no one talks shit to me.
Yeah.
But before
before, no.
At all.
And you know what's weird? Because I analyze myself like that. But I think if you ask, for instance, my brothers, they would tell you the opposite.
Yes. Yeah.
And I never, and this is like a whole, like, I mean, and Junior knows me from when I was younger, so that would be a question to ask him. But I never looked at myself like that. On the contrary, like, I mean, who I am, that's why I'm saying, like, who I am today, like, in high school, at least, like, I saw myself as very, like, needy.
Yeah.
I always needed to be around, like, a friend or somebody. I never really had, like, a long-term boyfriend because, you know, like, both of my best friends did, and I didn't. So I was always like, I'm going to be the crazy tia. Like, I love kids, but I'm not going to have them. Yeah. Like, that's how I saw myself. That now, I'm like, that's not who I am at all. Right. You know, or, now I'm not, obviously.
You know, my story that I lost a lot of weight. Yeah. And I think I don't know why, but when I was heavier and overweight, no one could tell me anything. Like I was like, I would put on an outfit and I was like, I am the hottest person who's ever walked on this planet. Something happened to my brain chemistry when I lost all the weight. And
it's weird, right?
Craziness.
Because essentially it's something that
it's a good thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, something happened to my brain that I lost all the weight, and I lost all my weight in the summer right before going into senior year. So when I went into senior year, when I went into senior year, I was a totally different person from who I was the past 3 years. So now I started getting all these guys' attention who didn't pay attention to me before. And I remember I literally can remember the day that I thought, wait a second, I am literally the same person. Yeah. I'm the same person. Yeah. The only thing that's happened is that now instead of being a size 14, I'm a size 4. Yeah. Like, why is everybody talking to me now?
It's so crazy.
And it literally switched something in me that I was like, oh, it's because we live in such a shallow fucking like world that it's
especially
like,
in high school. Like, that's like the first thing that you think of.
Like, I remember
like
I had
the physical of somebody.
I had a guy come up to me. He's like, oh, did you just transfer? And I'm like, are you
been here for 4 years.
Like, 3 years, did whatever. I just transfer? Like, what?
That's wild, yeah.
But it did something to me, and it, instead of gaining all this confidence,
it trickled you down.
I was just like this, like, don't look at me. I don't want to be looked at. When I would hit the stage, it was different. I had this confidence, whatever.
Which is weird that you picked the career that you picked,
girl, because it's something that always every now and then comes and kind of like haunts me a little bit.
I mean, you don't, I guess you do pick it, but you don't. You know?
Don't.
It's
like,
it's just,
right.
It is what
it
is.
Just, it happens.
Yeah.
And I think about doing something else and I can't. Yeah. But if I sit here and like told you, oh, it doesn't affect me, I would be lying out of my teeth.
No,
because
your career is like,
my career is one of my biggest triggers, which sucks, because I love it so much. And to be honest with you, I have gotten better. Yeah. When I first started, it was hard to feel ugly on stage or feel like, oh, how do I look? And is my hair okay? And is my, like...
No, you're such a vulnerable
Oh my God. It was this constant checking and this constant, like, what are people thinking? And what is this? And what is that? So I did experience, and every time I will start a new show, my eating disorder would just like flare up like no one's business. I would go back into like behaviors, and I would see, and there were times that I was able to control it, and there was times that I was so overwhelmed in the world that I was like, you know what, fuck it, I guess the ED is back for a little bit, and once the show opens, then I'll be okay.
So you kind of have to like just like bow down to it.
There's sometimes that I bow down because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be fighting so many different battles right now.
Yeah.
That I just let me cave in. Not saying that it's a good thing.
No, of course not. Yeah, but it's like survival at that point.
Yeah. For example, like during Amparo. I had the best experience in Amparo, and Amparo changed my life for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
The group of friends that I have met, I met my fiance, like a lot of different things. But when it came to the costume portion in Amparo, that was one of my biggest triggers was the costumes. First Amparo was a huge trigger costume wise, but second Amparo, so we did different, for those who don't know, we like did different, we called them like pilots of Amparo. The New York one, Margarita's character. I always
forget that was a thing.
Yeah. Every now and then I forget New York happened.
Yeah.
When we did it in New York, she was a showgirl. So I had a showgirl outfit.
So similar to the one here.
Yes, but here I had the dresses. There it was like Las Vegas showgirl type vibe.
Okay.
Yo, when they showed me that outfit.
What was it, like barely anything?
It was a bra with an underwear.
Yeah.
And then you had the fishnets and then the feather hat thing.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, I can't even tell you. Like, I spiraled.
Stop.
I spiraled because I was like, oh my God, and how do my arms look? And how does my stomach look? And what are people going to say when they're like, are they going to believe that I'm a showgirl? And like, all these things go into your head.
Yeah.
And it takes me a while to like come out of it. I will say again that the older I've gotten, the more I'm like,
it doesn't matter.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And the last show, Laughs in Spanish, was like
big turning point.
Something triggered in my brain. You know this. 2 days before Laughs in Spanish, I fell down backstage and I sprained my ankle super severely.
Which also, like, I don't know how you didn't make it more of a thing because
nobody knows. Nobody understands. But I sprained my ankle really severely, tore the main ligament and tore my meniscus. And this was, first of all, I had been waiting for my Gable stage debut since I graduated college.
Yeah.
To be on that stage is like, it's a big deal in the South Florida theater world. And so that was the first thing that rushed through my mind was, I can't fucking believe that 2 days before I open
I don't know how you did the whole thing. Yeah. Just like mentally, that's...
No. My first week, Janessa, I went to a place that I hadn't been in a very long time.
For sure.
And something happened because I was dealing with the injury that I did not give a fuck how I looked on that stage. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like I would sit, and before I would sit, and in my head I'm like, stand up straight, suck in your stomach, make sure. At one point I saw a picture of me and I was like, just like in the moment, sitting like a human.
Which you should be, because you're great and you're beautiful and what you do, and like you don't have to be worrying about that. Yeah.
And I saw that picture, and any other time I would have been like, Marcela, suck in your stomach. Like, dude, I saw that picture and I was like, oh, okay.
It's fine.
I would get ready for the show and I would like, it's gonna sound stupid, but like my hair was in a ponytail. That would never happen. That's not cute on stage. What are people gonna say? Like, something happened to me with this injury in the show that I just let it all go. And the ED was non-existent. I didn't give a fuck how I looked on stage because I was worrying about having to do a show with one leg hopping the entire fucking time.
You made it work though.
No, I made it work, and the universe does everything for a reason. And I felt like that character needed that. But when you love what you do and what you do is your biggest fucking trigger, it's crazy. But
no, that's tough.
Again, I've gotten to the point that I'm just like, I'm with someone who constantly reminds me how beautiful I am. Not that like you need to hear that, but
it's huge. You know?
It's this
it really
thing
is.
of like,
you just want somebody next to you that's really like rooting for you.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's going to be seasons in your life.
Oh my God, yeah.
That you are at your A game and you are unfucking stoppable.
Yeah,
and
man.
like everything can happen. And then you're going to have seasons.
Yeah, that you're not.
That, you know, it happens with me and it happens with Eddie. And I can't wait to have him on the podcast and hear his perspective on being with someone who, you know, deals with mental health.
Yeah.
But damn, it's hard.
I'm sure.
It's hard and I didn't really talk about a lot with Laughs in Spanish because it did take such a toll on me mentally. I couldn't do anything by myself.
Yeah.
I couldn't drive because it was my primary leg. I couldn't walk. I could not do anything. And first of all, it made me realize, thank God that I have Eddie Fuentes by my side. Thank God for my mom and my sisters and just like my whole support team, because if I didn't have that, it was dark.
Yeah.
Like going through that was dark. And the postpartum blues, not the post-show blues. I mean, that's how the podcast started. It's because I was talking to Roby and I was like, yo, I am in a funk.
I gotta talk about all
like
this shit
I'm in
feeling.
a funk. I don't know what the fuck to do. And he's like, come to the studio. Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
But it goes back to picking your partners and picking
100%.
the people around you.
100%.
You know, and when you become a mom, you realize how important.
Oh my God, yeah.
The saying, it takes a village.
It really does, though.
Oh my God.
It really does. I wouldn't be able to do half of this stuff that I am able to do if it wasn't for all the people around me. Like literally, you know, and that goes going back to what you're saying. It goes for anything. Like when you broke your ankle, I mean, you could have been alone doing all that shit alone. Like, I mean,
no, it's funny because every now and then I would tell Eddie, "Oh my God, what if we had a kid right now?" Like
you figure it out though. Like, I mean, you say that, but you figure it out. Right. It just happens, you know?
Yeah.
Because, okay, again, we didn't plan the second. We didn't plan the third. We're not doing a good job at planning, clearly. But we are in. we from day to day we're like, how are we gonna do this? Because 3's a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And like the girls are little.
But you
just
do
figure it out.
My mom
and like
did
it's gonna
3.
be fine, you know.
Single mom, like
yeah, exactly. Which is
like,
my point. Like people are in worse circumstances, and they figure it out, you know. And that just goes with life in itself, and like being an actor as well. It's like you go day to day, and you're like, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna be financially? How am I gonna get work? And you just figure it out. You know, if you're passionate about what you're doing, whether it be being a mom, being an actor, being whatever it is, if you're passionate and you really believe in yourself, you're gonna be fine, you know?
Right.
Now you have to have like the headspace of like being able to adjust. Like, you know, you're like, what can I do now? And that's why you are doing this podcast, you know, because you know that there's something missing. But it's gonna be fine. Yeah. You know?
And I think talking about it.
Oh my God, yes.
Like I think the
this
boomers
right now.
Like the boomers get mad because we talk about all of our feelings and we share. But the thing is, like, we grew up not doing that.
Yeah. No.
We grew up not talking about our feelings. Yeah, no. We grew up thinking that depression was not a real thing.
Depression,
that anxiety,
if you were gay, if you were whatever. Like that was not like
it wasn't a thing. Oh, suicidal thoughts.
Yeah,
like that's none of that was like you didn't talk about emotions.
No.
You didn't talk about any of that.
No.
And the older I get, and the closer I am to becoming a parent one day, the more I am saying to myself, it's so important.
Super important.
And so important to ask for the help when you need it.
Yeah.
Like postpartum. No, 100%. Because even asking for help on an everyday basis when like you need something is hard. I can't even imagine when it's like your kid.
Yeah.
You want it done your way.
Yeah.
It's how you want it done. And it's like how you said, the control of everything.
Yeah.
But I think if there's anything that you get from this episode, it's like, oh, I can talk about it.
Yeah.
I can ask for help. I'm not crazy thinking these things. Like going back to your postpartum anxiety and thinking that thought.
Yeah.
Someone who you went out and you said that thought out loud. You know, you talked to someone about that thought. But you hear these stories of these moms who end up doing these like crazy things.
I know.
And then get punished for it.
Yeah.
But no one sat down with that mom and was like, hey, how are you?
Yeah, it's like, and again, it goes back to like having really good people around you, you know? And it's like, if somebody notices something, let's say it, you know, and let's talk to this person. It's like, we can't keep on doing the same thing and expecting different results, you know? We got to talk. We got to be like, okay, she's doing things in a weird way, or she's behaving not like herself. What's wrong? You know, sit down with her. And it is tough because, you know, some people are not willing to be open. Right. Yeah. It's not even willing. It's like open to talking.
No, and you have to be ready.
Yeah.
You have to be ready. But
yeah,
I think if you are in a place where you feel safe to talk about it, and it's not like you have to talk to everyone.
No. You talk to somebody that you're comfortable
one person.
with. Yeah, 100%. And that person could be like completely like out of what you thought that person was going to be, you know?
And it's okay to be like, yo, I'm having these fucking thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm not going to act out on them.
Yeah.
But I'm having a really hard time.
Yeah, or I feel this way or whatever, yeah.
And it's also normal because I think, you know, we see the bounce back and the like getting back to...
Oh my God, yeah, I know.
And getting back to yourself, honestly, and being... It's going to take time. And it's like you said, the Janessa that you were before you were a mom and the Janessa that you are now.
Yeah.
And accepting.
Yeah, which is very hard.
Yes.
Yeah. But you have to get to that point because you're in a different stage of life too, you know, and it's beautiful. And like, again, like I was saying too, like what I thought of myself before that people probably didn't think of me like how I thought I was.
Right.
You know, the same thing could happen now. Like I think I'm a certain way, but people probably look at me in more of a high, you know, like than what I think of myself or whatever the case may be. So point is be as positive and gentle to yourself as you can, which is very hard, but you have to be. You have to be because if not, you'll drown, you know, you'll drown and it's not a good place to be in, you know, and for the people around you too, like it's not cool to be with somebody like that. Right. You know, it's not like a good place to be at, you know? So you just gotta, it's an exhausting thing being a human, like having to check in with yourself all the time. Having to check in with yourself. And that's because we've gotten to a place in society and everything that we're like, oh, we have feelings. Like you said, you know, like when we grew up, it wasn't like that. But we're like, oh, we have feelings and we could talk about things and whatever.
And boundaries.
And boundaries and all these things. And it's overwhelming because now we have all of this information. But it's also great because we have all of this information, you know, and we can do something about it and talk.
And talk.
Yeah.
And talk. Thank you for being here with me
Oh my God,
today.
It was the best.
I want to give a quick shout out to our amazing sponsors, Blooming More. Look at this beautiful.
I love them.
We have a code for you guys. You can use FSWGI10 at checkout, and you'll get a little money off on your gorgeous flower arrangements. My friend, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking so open with me.
Oh, yes.
About subjects that are like hard to talk about at times.
Yeah, and no, it's great. Honestly, like I said, like as a mom, this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
And it's tough to have like an open space to do it. And I'm grateful that I can do that.
Come back anytime.
Yeah, I will.
I'm sure Roby would love that.
I'm sure he's going to love it.
He's going to love it. We're taking over, Roby. Thank you.
Thank you. Love you.